Hey everybody, I thought I would chat with everyone today about something that I guess it shouldn't be surprising that this still exists, but apparently it does. So I will chat with you guys and gals a little bit about this today. And I decided to make this video, because I had someone come in my comments and the video was not about GMOs or anything else. And they went down a list of things that they think are bad for you and should be avoided. And it was soy, GMOs, blah, blah, blah. They put GMOs first. And they gave this list of foods they thought you should be eating. And like, some of it was food that I personally wouldn't consider to be particularly healthy. And it was just interesting because, they mentioned the GMOs, and you still see people who do this like, oh, GMOs are bad. And they don't realize this is a trend that has largely died out. Something I've kind of kept up with, but apparently most of even countries that had banned a lot of GMOs have realized it's silly. They've lifted those bans. Scientists have done large amounts of studies on a wide variety of GMOs. And I think at this time, there's around 13 really commonly eaten GMO foods that are specific ones done that have been tested pretty heavily. There's no reason to think they're unsafe at this point. And, people will still chime in. And the things that I always look at this, it seems like their only argument is, I don't know how genes work, and I'm scared of things that I don't understand. Right? Or science bad. Anything a scientist has touched is bad and potentially dangerous, and they don't know what the effects are going to be. Well, except that we kind of do, right? We kind of do know what genes do. If they're genetically modifying foods, they kind of figured out what proteins those genes affect and what the downstream effects are. And usually if it's something that's non-viable, the creature it's being created, the plant, is probably not even going to survive. It's not going to make it into a mature plant. So when this comes up, the first question you have to wonder when people bring this up is, do you actually know what genes are? Because a lot of times in my experience, I've had people I knew personally who didn't like this, and I'm like, well, what do genes do? They didn't have an answer. They didn't actually know what genes do. They had no idea. They're like, I guess the genes what makes each living thing what it is. Well, in a sense, but not really. That's not exactly what genes do. They pretty much make proteins. That's what they do. They're a code for proteins. So that's, again, a very, very, very simplistic way to put it. For the layman. And of course, as structures and everything are built in a living thing, that's going to kind of determine what it is. But that's what they miss. If they don't really know what genes are, then what is their argument? They don't have one. And here's the thing. Every time someone brings up this, who still holds on to this, it's the same thing people had before. You're like, okay, so you think GMOs is not a single thing. It's a category. So rather than let's discussing a whole category, that would be like saying all cars are bad. Well, maybe not all cars. Could you explain which type of car? So that's the thing when you ask them further, okay, so you think they're bad and you think we should avoid them. Here's the question, and I would ask to anyone who has a problem with GMOs. Which specific one are you concerned with? Meaning, you're saying all GMOs in general, so what do you think that the risk is? What specifically are you afraid of or worried about? So which plant, like which crop are you worried about specifically? Name the plant, and can you tell me what GMO, what gene they've changed that you're concerned about? So which genetic modification? Can you pull up a number or a name for the one they've done? Because it's going to be patented, right? There's going to be a patent on it in the patent office. It's going to have been approved. So can you pull up the specific one that you're afraid of for the specific food and say, okay, I'm afraid of this one, whatever gene for this type of corn, A12C123517. Okay, so you think it's potentially bad. All right. What do you think specifically that it's going to do? So what is your actual concern with that specific gene that's been changed? What is the mechanism, the proposed mechanism of harm? Because I can tell you how table sugar harms a human, like refined fructose. I can tell you how stearic acid, saturated fat found in red meat. I can tell you the pathway in the body by which they cause problems, starting with the liver, right? We could break that down. So if you think that this is harmful, then can you tell me what it is you're afraid of? Like, what mechanism of harm do you think this corn gene is going to cause? And they have no answer, ever. Ever. They never have an answer. It always comes down to, well, I don't know what genes are, and I think it's unnatural, or it's man-made, so therefore it's bad. I don't trust scientists. And here's your problem with both of those sort of lines of thought. They're not rational, because you don't trust scientists in any way with your life. You ever gotten in an airplane? How much science and how many scientists did you have to trust to get in an airplane that's going to fly you hundreds of feet up in the air, actually tens of thousands of feet up into the sky, and stay afloat till it gets you to your destination? I mean, if you don't trust scientists, you did that. I mean, you get in a car all the time. Science and experts have designed that car. Do you trust it to not just explode into flame while you're driving down the street, a new car you buy? All right? That's a problem. Because your assumption that because scientists have made something or modified something in some way that it's automatically unsafe. Did you look at any of the safety data? Have you looked at any of the studies on the specific plant you're concerned about to see how they determine safety? No, they never have. Not once. They read on a conspiracy vlog somewhere, and that's even dying out on GMO. They're going after other stuff. Because too many studies are just showing, they're not a concern. And the other thing, it's not natural. Well, they'll eat broccoli. They'll eat all these man-made products that do not exist in nature. I don't think people are aware of that. Most of the foods that you eat do not exist in nature. Like what you eat as a normal domesticated cow doesn't exist in nature. Animal that's lived in a pasture and been fed grass its whole life, even grass-fed beef, that doesn't exist in nature. You're going to get a way fatter animal, way more saturated fat and everything, even from a grass-fed, than anything found out in the wild. I mean, these are domesticated animals we've selectively bred. They don't exist that way. Broccoli doesn't exist. Most of the really high nutrient vegetables you eat are selectively bred foods. They don't exist in nature. They're man-made. We've messed with their genes through selective breeding. Create whole new foods. We do it all the time. We've been doing it for hundreds or thousands of years. All right? And at the end of the day, the people who have a problem with it, they don't even have evidence. Because science is bad. That's their whole evidence. But they'll get in an airplane. They'll get in a car. And they're scared it might be bad for you, but the same people will drink alcohol, which is proven to be bad for you. It is a poison. It is a literal poison that causes enormous amounts of harm that a lot of people feel should be outlawed again. They'll drink that. Even though it's been proven harmful, but they're scared of something that's appears to be relatively safe, appears to have no risk, purely because it's a man-made, just like the alcohol they're drinking.